Hey everyone, welcome back to another explainer. Man, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Listen, if you've ever burned a whole afternoon, like literally hours, just trying to get a project to run on your machine, well, your workflow is about to get a massive upgrade. Today, we're diving into Canonical's latest release. It's this brilliant tool called Workshop. We're going to break down exactly how this acts as the absolute ultimate solution for dodging those local dev environment headaches on Ubuntu. By the end of this, you'll see how you can launch fully sandboxed, perfectly repeatable environments with literally a single command. Let's jump right in.
Okay, I want you to be honest with me for a second here. Is your development environment just a total mess right now? Think about your host machine. We developers are juggling an insanely complex stack of tools these days, right? You might be trying to spin up Ollama for local AI models, you're balancing CUDA and RockSim for GPU acceleration, plus you're managing different versions of Node.js, Python, 50 different databases. Trying to run all of this directly on a single host machine? Yeah, that is practically a recipe for disaster.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast we're talking about today. On the left side, we've got the historical reality for, well, most of us, the messy, manual setup. It's just this endless cycle of error messages, right? You fall into dependency hell where fixing one tool instantly breaks another, and you eventually realize your setup is completely inconsistent with your colleagues. But then, on the right, we have the future with Canonical's Workshop. We are moving to a clean environment that's strictly isolated, perfectly repeatable, and, get this, achievable with just one single command. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the development environment problem. Second, enter Canonical's Workshop. Third, installing and using Workshop. And finally, key developer benefits.
All right, part one, the development environment problem, or as we all know and hate it, the works on my machine dilemma.
You know, when you're installing and configuring tools manually, human error is just inevitable. You miss one tiny step, or maybe you install the wrong version of something, and suddenly, boom, nothing compiles. Then you start piling on multiple databases and SDKs, and of course they inevitably conflict with one another. What's worse is that because these are all manual tweaks, your environment is rarely consistent with a developer sitting literally right next to you. And finally, as we all lean more heavily into AI, heavy tools like CUDA and Ollama just totally clutter up your host system. It wastes so much time, causes completely unpredictable errors, and frankly, it's just a shared trauma for all of us developers. Which brings us to part two. Enter Canonical's Workshop, the elegant single-command savior. Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly is Workshop? Well, it's a new tool from Canonical that lets you create completely consistent, isolated development environments specifically on Ubuntu. And the real beauty of the whole shebang, it is entirely driven by simple YAML files running on top of LXD system containers. If you've ever used dev containers or NICs, you can basically think of Workshop as a super easy, highly optimized version of those, tailor-made specifically for the Ubuntu ecosystem. Now, the underlying mechanics here are actually really fascinating. Workshop doesn't just create some messy virtual space. It creates secure, unprivileged containers. Because it leverages these LXD containers, it fully protects your host machine from whatever experimental stuff you're building or running. And at the exact same time, it guarantees that your dev setup remains perfectly consistent every single time you launch it. So you're really getting the absolute best of both worlds here, strict isolation and total consistency.
All right, moving right along into part three, installing and using Workshop, from zero to code in minutes.
You'll love this. The installation is incredibly straightforward and completely accessible right now. It is literally just two commands. Step one, you just make sure you have the latest LXD installed by running snap install channel equals 6/stable LXD. Once that finishes up, step two is simply snap install classic Workshop. And yeah, that's it. Actually, that's really all there is to it. With just those two commands, your system is completely prepped and ready to start spinning up isolated environments. So once you're installed, the real magic happens in the configuration file. You just declare your entire environment requirement in a single file called workshop.yaml. You need Python? Put it in the YAML. Node.js? Toss it in there. Heavy AI tools like Ollama or CUDA? Just declare them. You are defining your absolute ideal pristine workspace purely through text. That means Workshop can perfectly recreate that exact setup whenever and wherever you need it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Workshop reduces literally hours of manual dependency installation into basically two words. Once your YAML file is good to go, you just run workshop create. That command reads your file and builds the isolated environment from scratch.
When it's done, you just type workshop enter, and boom, you are instantly dropped into your fully isolated, perfectly configured dev setup. It is just remarkably efficient. Which leads us to part 4, key developer benefits. And honestly, why this is the new standard.
So the crucial point is that integrating Workshop into your daily workflow brings some immense long-term advantages. First off, you get entirely repeatable environments. I mean, it works exactly the same on your machine as it does on your teammate's machine. Second, you get really strong sandboxing for security. Third, you actually don't lose host connectivity. It's got this simple resource sharing, meaning your GUI apps, SSH agents, and even USB devices still work completely seamlessly inside the container. Fourth, because your whole setup is just a YAML file, it's easily version controlled right alongside your code. And finally, the speed. You can create and destroy these workspaces incredibly fast. It makes it an absolute game changer for data science, web development, and especially AI projects where you just need clean, reproducible setups on demand.
I actually want to focus specifically on that AI aspect for a moment here, because strong sandboxing isn't just a nice to have anymore. It is absolutely critical when you're working with modern agentic AI tools. As we start letting AI agents run scripts, test code, and freely interact with file systems locally, those unprivileged LXD containers provide a vital, strictly non-negotiable safety net for your host machine. I mean, take a good look at your current setup. If AI agents are increasingly writing and executing your code locally, is your host machine truly safe without a sandbox? Workshop gives you the power to build, experiment, and collaborate with total confidence and zero clutter. I highly, highly recommend spinning it up and giving it a try on your next project. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep building, and I'll catch you in the next one.